Hey, remember the first video? Well, here's the second video on a simple woodworking project to make a picture frame with miters. Let's say you followed the first video step by step and you popped it out of the clamps and you went, oh, the miters aren't matching up or something doesn't seem right. Well, this video will give you tons of tips and tricks to make tweaks to a mitered frame so it looks absolutely stunning, even if you're a seasoned pro. And don't forget to subscribe. Okay, so when you analyze each miter and each bead, don't go right to putting wood filler in there. Sometimes it's a shadow line where it lifted ever so slightly. I'll show you how to tackle that in a minute. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look on the ends here, and if it's opened up ever so slightly, I'll take some of this great filler and fill it in, and you will not even see this. Okay, this opened up ever so slightly, this bead. I'm going to fill it, so this will be negligible when I'm finished. But I just want to get enough in there, and I've always had these little spatulas like this. I think I got this at Harbor Freight, so the more I can scrape and fill, or fill and scrape, look how that just disappeared, and I will take care of this. It's less I gotta sand at the end. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it over and we'll sand out the back here so it lays flat. So the back looks good, the miters are tight. I did a little bit of filling here and here that it opened up on just a couple of them, and there was one bead that opened up. But I'm not going to attack the front yet. What I'm going to do is do the outside edge. Remember all the time we took to run this profile on the router table with the inside bead and the outside bead. We analyzed all of this in that video to make sure we didn't get flat spots. Well, here's what happens. This is one of the most difficult moldings to sand out because we just have the field to sand. We have to make sure that those beads all meet perfectly in the miter, and we don't want to create flat spots with a sander on it. So let me show you how I'm going to attack this now. If we look in here, and hopefully, we know we have to sand this field here, right? We don't want to put flats on these beads. We want to make sure that everything is meeting here, and this one's pretty good, but what happens is somebody may look at this and say, oh, look, it opened up. It didn't. It's just that this field is a little bit elevated than this one. So this we'll leave alone at this moment. We'll sand this out or actually use a little hand plane to get some of that out. So before we start sanding this miter, I want you to pay attention where this bead is not meeting at the long point perfectly. And I don't want to create a flat spot. So what I do is I take a gouge like this and very simply start to pare that away so I get a perfect meet up right there. And I still maintain my radius. It's just light, very light paring. That will bring you in. Don't take too big a bite because it's not that much. And this one was offset up top here. So I'll just come in here. So what this eliminates is a lot of extra sanding. So we get all our beads tightened up. We'll get those sanded out in a few minutes. But I want to concentrate right now on leveling the miters they came up a little on the interior field of this profile. So what I did is I took a quick measurement. Okay, it's about 25 millimeters, roughly, inch. And this is a Lie-Nielsen 212, I believe, scraper. And this is where I want to take this down quick, but I don't want to hit the beads to cause flat spots. So I'll skew it a little, and I'll work this corner ever so slightly. Remember, this blade is a little bit wider than this field here, but there's a lot of milling marks, okay? So what I'll do is I'll take it like this, and I'll take my time, and I'll slowly scrape that. My biggest thing is I don't want to hit the bead to cause a flat spot. Then I got a lot of work. Boy, that'll save a lot of sanding. Okay, so that scraper plane really took out a lot of milling marks. There's still a few marks on there. That's what sanding's for. But as I feel on the inside of that 25 millimeter field, I feel a little tear out. So this is why I like the foam backed abrasive like this, because I can fold it to a shear point and I can put it right in there, and with just a couple swipes I can knock out some of the slight tear out that we've had on that inside edge, so it's really smooth. Okay, so this is where you gotta be wicked careful. Once again, no flat spots on those beads. So I chose this detail sander, and I will only use partial pad, and not tipping, but just a partial pad to start sanding out that field. So while I'm at it, when I have this detail sander, I'll start sanding this really short edge, narrow edge here on the inside to remove milling marks. The beauty of this sandpaper is I can actually conform it to my profile. So what I'll do is I'll bring it in, and just in the corners and along the bead, I can do a quick sand like this and bring it right in, and maybe there's a pencil mark or something in there, and I'll concentrate on the inside here where the miters meet and just knock that out. So, one of the things before I start to clean it, to put my finish on, I look for milling marks, and I look for areas that I may have a scratch pattern. I took this from 80 to 120 to 150, and I see right here I have a few scratches on the miter, and a few, hopefully this comes in the video, I'll try to rake the light right here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna brush off and get all the debris, sanding off of there with my shop brush. Just clean it up. And here's what I've always seen in shops, is somebody will go, okay, it's all nice and clean, or they'll blow it off. Well, I'm gonna be using Rubio Monocoat, and they have a cleaner which I use on everything, and it just seems to work fantastic. You just gotta wait a little extra time. But what happens as I do this, you can actually see if there's any flaws in it. Now, inside the bead here, I can't get that. So what I do is I take that famous toothbrush, I pour a little cleaner in here, and I get that nice and clean in there. And while the frame is drying, I just mixed up some Rubio, pure. Okay, so let's hit the frame with some Rubio. Now we just did the back and the rabbit, okay? We can hit that with the cotton rag to apply the Rubio. But I always have a bunch of these chip brushes. They're very inexpensive, so I'll throw it away afterwards. So what I'm gonna do is hit all my profiles just like this with Rubio. And you'll see it pop. This little profile in here, this is the bead. This inside is called a quirk. This outside is called a fillet. So make sure you concentrate on all of the areas to get some finish on there. Of course, you have to wipe off the Rubio, but there's a tip in here I want to show you. I have a dry chip brush. Where the Rubio puddles, and you have to get it out of there or it'll get tacky, is right here in the bead, and I have a dry rag, and I take it like this with a chip brush, a new chip brush, and I get it right out of there. Okay, we let the Rubio dry. That's one of the key things to do. Let it cure. So we let it cure for a week, and I actually washed my shirt So now what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to set the poster in here with plexiglass and hardboard. So the first thing I'm going to do, just to make sure I measured right, we're going to measure the depth of rabbet, and I'm at basically 9 millimeters of depth, 3/8. So the thickness of, we'll measure the thickness of the plexiglass, the poster, and the backer board. So it comes in roughly at 2 millimeter, the plexiglass. We'll come over here, we'll measure the poster. This is almost negligible. That's 0.3, we'll just say 0.5 millimeter. So the backer board I'm gonna just say is 5 millimeter. So 5 plus 2, 7, we'll just say 7.5. Plenty of setting depth. So remember, we cut the rabbet side to side a couple millimeters short. So this just slips in, the poster, and top to bottom. So I'm gonna go off the true dimension of the poster, and with my track saw, cut the plexiglass and the hardboard. Okay, so you have a lot of work in your picture frame. What you want to do is you want to avoid as many scratches as possible because this came out wicked nice. What I like to do is always have scrap cardboard around, and I'm going to set this down, and I know that I want that knot at the top, okay? So I'm going to lay it down, and I know where that's my top. So what we're going to do is I got all the pieces and parts here. Let's test our sandwich. So let's put in the plexiglass and take it nice and gentle, and that sits just perfect. Then we'll take our poster, and remember, that's where the knot is, and I know that's the top. Let's just verify that. Yep, writing's at the bottom. We'll set that in there like this. Okay, boy, that's working out nice. Now, this is the hardboard, and someone says, oh, you don't need to sand that. No, you don't. No one's ever gonna look behind a picture. So don't waste your time, set it in, okay? And I'm gonna feel right here, and that's perfect. And I'm gonna show you what we're gonna set it with. So you're gonna notice everything looks great from the front here. And yes, I know I have to take the protective film off the plexiglass, but I always wait till the end. Okay, so this is glare-free. And I took it off the front of the film where the blue was, or the blueprint, but make sure that you also take it off of this side, okay? And that's what a lot of folks have a tendency to forget. So you can get this plexiglass in any big box store, but this is so important because I've made this mistake before. When you read the front where the blueprint is, it says non-glare side, face this side away from picture. Okay, because you'll see it's a little hazy here and the back is crystal clear. That goes toward the picture. Okay? So we're going to use what is known as glazier points. And I'm going to put the point in to the front here, and I have this setting tool which I adjust by this knob here, and I bring it in so when I pull it in, it pulls the glazier point from those two protrusions on the point. All right, let's see how it's looking. Wow, that came out simply wonderful. So there's only one more piece of hardware we got to put on there. I like to use a very simple sawtooth hanger, and I'll just find the center here. And I know half of 410 is 205. I'll make a mark right here on my center line, and then I'll just knock this in and I'll eyeball it. So I think that turned out pretty decent. Hopefully these last 2 videos have helped you and give you some ideas on a simple woodworking project, but there's a lot of woodworking tips and tricks in there, whether you're a novice or a seasoned pro. So as we always say from the SedgeTool shop, be positive, stay sharp, and we mean wicked sharp.